Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Keys to Reaching Every Reader. I'm Heather Booth. I'm the audiobooks editor at Booklist. And before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. A link to today's slide presentation was included in the reminder email that you received from Zoom about an hour ago. To download it, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the link located there. You can also download the slides by typing the URL on this screen into your web browser. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have questions or if you need technical assistance, simply click the Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists during the Q&A section so they can follow up with you at the end of the webinar or after the webinar in email. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon in the toolbar mentioned above. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting caption settings. Finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. We have a wonderful program for you today, so let's begin by meeting today's presenters. Megan Palick is an OverDrive digital content librarian with over 15 years combined experience in education, museums, and libraries. She obtained her BA in Anthropology and Classics from Wright State University and her MLIS with a concentration in Museum Studies from Kent State University. She's passionate about learning, culture, and travel. If her nose is not in a book, she's most likely gardening, foraging for mushrooms, playing the guitar, or petting her lovable golden doodle peanut butters. Finding and recommending books to others is Shia Henlein's favorite activity at work and at home. Equipped with an MLIS, SLMS, teaching certificate, and reading endorsement, she is currently serving schools all across New York. Besides reading in her free time, she spends quality time with her dog, Rosie. Jody Lynn Solomon grew up helping her school libraries from first grade. She also cataloged and put pockets and checkout cards in her home collection as a child. Oh my gosh, I did the same thing. Fast forward a few years, and Jody Lynn got an MLIS and SLMS from Kent State University and was a school librarian for about 17 years before coming to OverDrive. As the digital content librarian in the Central region, she loves enlightening the students' worlds with books. Kristen Hine is an account manager working with our partners in Eastern New York. Since 2019, she has been helping schools implement Sora and engage students with reading. Combined with her knowledge of Sora, years of classroom experience, and her own love of reading, Kristen understands the unique needs of teachers, administrators, and students as they embrace digital content in their libraries and classrooms. Kristen is always looking to hear about and spotlight those innovative ways that schools are using Sora. Thanks for joining us, Megan, Sheila, Jody, and Kristen. The floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. My name's Megan. I'm a digital content librarian for OverDrive, and I'm going to talk to you about some elementary school content for the youngest Sora users. I'll start off with content for emerging readers, discuss some options for reluctant readers, and along the way, introduce some of the most popular and new content that every elementary collection should have. Next slide, please. So for your emerging readers using Sora, we have a great selection of decodable books. These books are phonics-based, written using specific sound-letter relationships, and are great tools for early readers. They can be used in classroom instruction, at home practice with caretakers, and of course for independent reading. So first off, we have Rosen Phonics Readers, which they have approximately 100 titles to choose from, with a great mix of fiction and nonfiction like Ziggy the Zebra and I See a Bee. Each book has an instructional guide, including a word list, teaching instructions, group and extended activities, and a writing exercise. These readers are leveled using Fontes and Pinnell levels A through D and intended for K through 2 students. Another series I really like is Animal Antics by Triangle. There are over 100 titles featuring some adorably illustrated animals and of course their antics, like a blue unicorn and a lucky pup. This series also includes a getting started section, a word list, and extended learning activities for home and classroom practice. Both the Rosen Readers and Animal Antics have several lending models to choose from, which I love because you can choose what works best for your students and get the most out of your budgets. The third series I want to highlight is Meg and Greg. These decodable books have all sorts of thoughtful features. They're written in a combination of text and graphic style to encourage buddy reading with a more advanced reader. They placed extra spaces between letters and words and lines to increase readability, and they've weighted the text to help with dyslexia. The 4-book series is available in the one copy, one user lending model, and a great choice for all emerging readers. I do want to quickly mention that we have Bob books. We have 10 titles, which are a staple to any early literacy collection and also available in the one copy, one user lending model. And lastly, we have a British publisher, Hodder, who makes Rising Stars Reading Planet, and they have over 300 nonfiction and fiction titles. And I absolutely love these decodable books. They're definitely worth checking out. Just make sure to take advantage of our preview full title option in Marketplace before purchasing to avoid confusing your new readers with British spellings and verbs that appear in some of these readers. So if a student can work out new words, make few errors, and comprehend the text, they're ready to move on, which brings me to the next slide, please. Leveled readers. OverDrive has a great selection of readers. You can easily find them using an advanced search with beginning readers as the subject in Marketplace. As you may know, publishers create their own leveling systems. So a 2-by-1 publisher may be vastly more complicated than a 2 by another publisher. However, our Marketplace metadata often includes our Lexile and ATOS level. So depending on what system your school uses, that metadata can be helpful to find the right books for your students. And of course, curating collections in Sora can help your students find the right books. This slide shows some of my favorite new releases from different publishers this school year. I'm sure everyone here is aware of the popularity of graphic books, so I want to point out that I Can Read series has been making I Can Read comics for a few years now. So Pete the Cat and the Sprinkle Stealer, a cute story about a stolen recipe, is written in graphic novel format, which encourages visual literacy. Also, in my experience, the most popular beginning readers have popular characters and media tie-ins, which is also helpful to get those reluctant readers interested in selecting their own books. I've never met a kid that doesn't like Pete the Cat. So I'd also recommend the Step Into Reading's Minecraft, The Sky's the Limit, based on the best-selling video game of all time, or so says the SLJ review. And of course, anything by Disney. If there's a movie, young readers will want that book. The last series I want to highlight is Pull Ahead Readers. They come in fiction and nonfiction pairs. And my favorite thing about these titles is the character representation and diversity. Children shape their reality according to the models they see. And I'm always happy to see books that accurately reflect the world. So Pull Ahead Readers does a fantastic job with that. Another great tool for beginning readers is that many of these books are offered in read-along format, like Meet the Clades and Our Garden. Read-alongs are ebooks with professionally recorded narration, and many will highlight words, sentences, or paragraphs as the narrator reads them, which can really help those emerging readers. Next slide, please. So no early literacy collection is complete without picture books. This slide shows a few of new releases from this school year, all great additions to your collection, but I'm going to highlight my absolute favorites. From the always hilarious Jory John, The Sour Grape tells a story about all the grudges he holds and why. It's because no one came to his birthday party, but there's an emphasis on talking through your problems, and the Sour Grape realizes nobody's perfect, not even himself, as he put the wrong date on his own invitations. The Creepy Crayon by Aaron Reynolds is the third book in his Creepy series, and it tells a tale of a found purple crayon that makes Jasper Rabbit amazing at everything he does when using the crayon. At first, he's pleased to pass his spelling and math tests, but the crayon soon becomes menacing and possessive, and Jasper Rabbit desperately tries to get rid of it. I mean, look at the smirk on that crayon. Children will absolutely love this humorous horror. And I think my favorite picture book of this school year is the Geisel Award winner nonfiction title Pizza, A Slice of History by Greg Pezzoli. It was surprisingly hilarious and informative, and I now know that Americans eat 350 slices of pizza every second, which is both fascinating and kind of gross. The book is narrated by a lovely rat and dives into the origins of pizza and ends with a recipe. Next slide, please. So moving on to early chapter and graphic novels for beginning readers, I really like these choices for reluctant readers and for the younger readers reading above grade level. They have pictures with the text, which catches the reader's attention, visually drawing them in. And these books tend to be pretty funny. In Ben Clanton's 7th book in the Narwhal and Jelly series, Narwhal wishes to see a unicorn and becomes one. It's cute, funny, involves a trip into space, a planet full of unicorns, and a lesson about empathy for our friends. He also has a new series, slightly less whimsical than Narwhal and Jelly, Tater Tales, stars 2 potato brothers, Snot and Rot, and they face off to determine who's the greatest in the world. Booklist calls it a delightful laugh on every page. It has great illustrations with plenty of rotten potato puns and ends with a heartwarming message. Pizza and Taco has a new book, number 5, about forming a rock band. The jokes are especially good for adults reading along with the students. Lots of fun food names for musicians like the Food Fighters, Jam Jet, and Justin Tater Tot. And they also sing I Love Lobster Roll, which I found delightful and will forever sing in my head in place of I Love Rock and Roll. The Geisel Honor Award series, Beacon Alley, has a new number 4. We have Super Pancake, a brand new series about an accidental superhero pancake. Owl Diaries released 16 and 17 in the series, which also happens to be an Apple TV original. The newest Bad Guys came out in November, and we can't forget about Jack and Annie and Rhinos at Recess, number 37 in the Magic Treehouse bestselling series. These titles are my go-to for reluctant readers and emerging reading practice. And if your students are ready for their next level in reading, next slide, please. Here we have this school year's top selling graphic novels, except I cheated a little and I put the newest Dogman front and center. It comes out next week. Mark your calendars, March 28th. I am not a psychic, but I'm confident that it will quickly rise to the most popular in sales across schools. So you definitely don't want to miss 20,000 Fleas Under the Sea. I also lumped Diary of a Wimpy Kid number 17 in graphic novels. I'm not exactly sure if it counts, but in my experience, the added doodles and graphic text are a favorite for reluctant readers, or perhaps all readers in this case, because it just seems to stay at the top of the list. We have Invisible by Cristina Diaz-Gonzalez, a realistic fiction where 5 Spanish-speaking students with seemingly nothing else in common are grouped together for community service. It received a Booklist star review and is currently 50% off in our current Scholastic sale, which goes until March 31st. Crunch by the New York Times bestselling author-illustrator Kyla Miller is another realistic fiction about having a plate full of activities, dealing with stress, and learning how to self-care. The book even goes a step further and has some great resources like creating a to-do list guide. It's number 5 in the Click series, but doesn't need the other books to make sense. It's absolutely fine as a standalone. Big Nate is now the star of the animated TV series on Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon, and he's back with Release the Hounds. The number 1 New York Times bestselling Wings of Fire series released the 6th graphic novel adaptation with art by Mike Holmes. Dave Pilkey, who apparently never stops writing, gave us Cat Kid Comic Club collaborations, book number 4 in the series. And we have a brand new Babysitters Club and a brand new spinoff, Karen's Birthday, which features Christy's little stepsister. All of these titles are in high demand. So if you don't have them in your collection already, you absolutely should. Next slide, please. And to end, I just wanted to get these upcoming titles on your mind. They're sure to be on the minds of your students. Most of these titles are scheduled to be released in April and May, just in time for summer reading. So we have some big names and exciting sequels, and that's all I could squeeze into my time. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A, and I'm going to pass it on to Sheila.
Thank you, Megan. Next slide, please. Okay, so I am Sheila Henline. I am a digital content librarian at OverDrive, and today I will review some formats at OverDrive that support reading for everyone, like magazines, books in other languages, audiobooks, and then lastly, some of my favorite picks for our middle grade readers. Next slide, please. So magazines, reading for everyone. Magazines attract quite a few students to reading. Magazines at OverDrive are available in English and other languages, including Spanish, French, and German, which is inviting for all students, providing for equity and inclusion. Students can utilize them for free reading time and current events spanning ages, grades, and reading levels. Magazines are slick, even in digital format, providing engaging short text and accompanying photos and illustrations. Popular and current event articles promote your digital library usage. We highlighted some favorite periodicals and some from our other languages too. Can you guess which magazine has the most checkouts on Sora? If you guess Minecraft World, you are right. Next slide, please. So titles to meet your students' needs in languages other than English. A data point taken from the New York State Public School enrollment dated 2020 to 2021 lists the top 5 home languages of English language learners. Is this statistic similar to your state? Each region may have different representation, but the data is clear. To make reading accessible for everyone, we need to include our English language learners too. Additionally, I have seen come across my desk requests for Ukrainian, Turkish, and Arabic, which currently reflects our world headlines. Do you notice these trends in your schools too? Collections may be developed not only for English language learners, but for students studying world languages and trying to earn the seal of biliteracy, as well as those students attending dual immersion classes in schools. A few quick fun facts is that there are 100 languages available in the OverDrive catalog, and Sora currently supports 10 multilingual interfaces, which allows for navigation of Sora in the heritage language of the student. Next slide, please. Audiobooks is reading for everyone. Audiobooks are so engaging. Beyond the awesome production value, students gain so much from listening to the narration of a book. Fluency, pronunciation, and pacing are major areas that help many learners. Audiobooks also help keep struggling readers with grade level content. One thing I like to emphasize is the ability to customize the playback speed. The knowledge that a student can slow down the narration can be a great value to them. Notes and highlights are also available for audiobooks on Sora. Audiobooks are a sustainable addition to your collection that provides equity for all students. Audiobooks in general have been increasing in usage by students and is a great asset in building your digital collection. Today, I included the AudioFile sync-free audiobooks for Teens Summer Reading Program. Beginning in April 27th and running through until August 2nd, teens can download 2 free engaging audiobooks a week on the Sora app all summer long. I also highlighted some popular audiobooks at Sora. Jenny Hand's The Summer I Turned Pretty regained popularity with this title now streaming. Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief are favorite among schools and students. The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bolee, and of course, Jeff Kinney's Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Can you guess which title is most popular at Sora? Okay, I know you guessed it. It is Diary of a Wimpy Kid by Jeff Kinney. Next slide, please. Reading is fun for everyone, especially our middle grade readers. I selected some new, popular, and fun titles that have been recently released or are releasing soon. Dungeons & Dragons is popular with its release in theaters. Five Nights at Freddy's will simply fly off your digital shelves. Ivelez Explains It All is a Newbery Honors Award winner. And regrettably, I don't have time to book talk on these titles, so here are a few from our book list reviews. The book Remember. It is written by U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo, and she happens to be the first Native American to hold this position. The poem Remember is illustrated by Caldecott medalist Michaela Goad. A starred review from Book List is they recommend this book for grades K-3. U.S. Poet Laureate Harjo's a member of Muskogee's Nation. This poem encourages readers to look to the universe, their own beginning within it, and the interconnectedness of all its creatures. The softened watercolor and mixed media illustrations drawn on Goad's Tlingit culture Begin with a luminous eagle soaring through the cosmos until it reaches the edges of the earth. In a blend of time and space, a Native American girl is born. I personally recommend poetry for all ages and recommend this title as a perfect companion for Poetry Month and Earth Day celebrations in April. Available now in Sora in ebook and audiobook formats, it is narrated by the author. Poetry is always scrumptious in audio format. Ebb and Flow. Book list reviewers recommend this title for grades 5 to 8. It's from our popular author, Kelly J. Baptist, and it's a story about two 7th graders who throw punches over a stepped-on pair of shoes and earn a 10-day suspension in a novel in verse that follows both Ebony and Flo over the course of their suspension. Baptist's verse flows easily and nicely captures the voices of Ed and Flo. Hand this to fans of Jason Reynolds and Jacqueline Woodson. I recommend this novel and verse title for, again, Poetry Month and our reluctant readers. It's available now in Sora in both ebook and audiobook formats. A Bit of Earth. Booklist reviewers recommend this book for grades 4 to 6. The protagonist, Maria Latif, is used to not having a space of her own, but what happens when she feels a sudden urge to put down roots in the most unexpected of places? Karuna Riazi, author, crafts a tender coming-of-age story about friendship, family, and new beginnings. A Bit of Earth is a reimagining of the classic The Secret Garden. And this is a perfect for fans of Other Words for Home and The Bridge Home. School Library Journal also given this title a starred review. I recommend partnering, okay, skipping it, with your favorite edition of The Secret Garden and updating your digital library collection to include this more contemporary title. Again, this title is now available in both ebook and audiobook formats in Sora. And lastly, I have The Moth Keeper. Booklist reviewers awarded this title, written by Kay O'Neill, a starred review and recommends for grades 4 to 8. The protagonist, Anya, is finally a moth keeper and the protector of the lunar moths that allow the night lily flower to bloom once a year. Her village needs the flower to continue thriving, and Anya is excited to prove her worth and show her thanks to her friends with her actions. What happens when a moth keeper isn't exactly what Anya thought it would be? Kay O'Neill brings to life a beautifully illustrated fantasy with lush, gorgeous art and intricate world building. A story about coming of age and community. The Moth Keeper is filled with magic, hope, and friendship. See sprinkles. Okay, this is in comic format and is beautifully illustrated and a great addition to your digital collections for all readers. Next, I would like to introduce my colleague, Jody Solomon. Take it away, Jody.
Thanks, Sheila. Hi, my name is Jody Solomon, and I was a school librarian for 17 years before becoming a digital content librarian with OverDrive. I have a passion for helping folks find books that are right for them and that engage them as a reader. Oftentimes, some of the most challenging readers to meet where they are and give them what they need are high school students. They have often made it through elementary and middle school without falling in love with reading because they do not have the fluency to enjoy it, because they haven't found something they like, or one of myriad other reasons. We're going to talk about several options for your high school students who may have barriers to reading success and how to turn them into readers. Next slide, please. One great option for high school reluctant readers, or for those with lower skill levels but higher interest or maturity, would be the high-low titles. Several publishers have great selections of these types of materials. I like Orca, Saddleback, and Learner myself, but there are many others. As you can see on the slide, all of the titles are aimed at a young adult audience, but the reading level can be anywhere from first grade on up. This does not mean one would hand any of these to a first grader. We are not talking hop on pop here. The Ooze by Tosh McAdam, for example, is, well, gross. It also deals with some darker topics and bigger responsibilities when a black ooze infests most of the town's population. 2 teens and 2 children need to save the town from a terrible fate. These titles tend to be shorter and faster paced than some other titles aimed at young adults. Another is Trapped by Sigmund Bauer. It's an outdoor adventure with a terrible foster father and an older teen trying to escape. When a big break happens, the teen needs to make a quick plan in this fast-paced, compact title written at a second grade reading level. Love Radio by Ebony Liddell, Janice Abbott Pratt, and Jaquan J. Kelly has a little bit of everything. Music, radio, love, and trying to get away from the past. Written at a third grade level, this title is sure to intrigue a high school struggling reader. There are many others available in all reading ranges. These are just some of my favorites. High school students reading these as ebooks won't need to carry around a, quote, skinny book or anything obviously different from their peers reading at grade level, and the topics are just as exciting and timely. Next slide, please. High interest nonfiction will often draw in struggling high school readers. Fact is preferred over fiction for some. Button Pusher by Tyler Page is a memoir-driven, realistic graphic novel of a young person diagnosed with ADHD, experiencing life in school, at home, with friends, all while figuring out how to manage his ADHD. Interspersed with fast facts and advice, this autobiography will resonate with neurodivergent students and beyond. Change the Game by Colin Kaepernick is also a graphic memoir of learning to make your own choices and strengthen your own voice. When everyone, from his adoptive parents to the teachers at school, have his life after school mapped out for him, Colin chooses to follow his own path to success. Read-alongs for young adults are great for struggling readers and English language learners. Professionally narrated, readers can follow along in the narrated text, read it themselves, or just listen as if it were an audiobook. Having the audio support helps with decoding, with vocabulary, fluency, and comfort reading. In Thanos Titan Consumed by Barry Lyga, readers learn the origins of the most feared force in the Avengers universe. In this original novel, readers see how Thanos became the Titan, consumed by his quest for power. Unbirthday by Liz Braswell is part of the Twisted Tales series, most of which are available in a read-along format. It's a reimagining of Alice in Wonderland after the story ends and Alice is older. This story and the rest of the series are darker than the original tales and aimed at young adult readers. Mind Over Matter by R.T. Martin is part of the Superhuman series that involves ordinary teens doing extraordinary things. In this title, on his 16th birthday, Parker discovers he has telekinetic powers. He can help his friends unless things get out of hand. Next slide, please. There are many graphic novels and nonfiction for young adults, as we've seen. This format, in which the pictures and words support each other in telling the story, is very popular across the grade bands. For struggling readers or those new to English, this blend helps readers connect with the content while reading smaller chunks of text. This format is especially valuable for visual learners across reading abilities. Victory Stand, Raising My Fist for Justice by Tommy Smith, Derek Barnes, and Dawood Anyabwile has won the 2023 YALSA Excellence in Young Adult Nonfiction and the Coretta Scott King Author and Illustrator Honor Book. This story of Tommy Smith's life leading up to the 1968 Olympics, where he raised his fist, and the aftermath will pique interest across the readers. Squire by Nadia Shamas and Sarah Alfaghi is a fantasy in which Asa, a member of the outsider class, is determined to follow the path to citizenship via knighthood. First, she must enlist in and get through the squire training while hiding her background. Not everything is as it seems, and Asa must choose between loyalty to her heart and heritage or loyalty to the empire and position. Slip by Marika Mukul and Atmaja Pandya is more grounded in reality. Jade gets into a competitive summer art program, which could be the next stop on her way to art school with a scholarship, her dream. She's about to leave for the program when she finds out her best friend attempted suicide. Mental health, self-discovery, and a little romance mixed with the guilt and angst of Jade being at the art farm while Phoebe is at the hospital. Next slide, please. Audiobooks are very popular among high school students. As Sheila said, struggling readers, folks with vision issues or other disabilities, English language learners, and others can all have the reading experience that suits their needs. Audiobooks contain all the elements of any other book, with the exception of decoding, which for many folks is the barrier to enjoying reading. Audiobooks also offer increased vocabulary and pronunciation, while not having to stress over decoding and fluency. Readers can enjoy the book without struggling, which leads to improving reading abilities and coming to love books. Funeral Songs for Dying Girls by Cherie Demoline mixes humor and horror and throws in a bit of impossible love story. Trying to help save her father's job and the cemetery where she has grown up with as part of her life, Winifred accidentally starts a rumor about the cemetery being haunted. Thus, it's added to the local haunting tour. This starts raising needed money, and Winifred is fine being the quote ghost until the real ghost of a girl who died nearby comes and starts causing complications. Stars and Smoke by award-winning author Marie Lu has everything: a pop star, an aspiring spy, a drug lord and his daughter, and of course, love. Winter Young is giving a private concert to Penelope, the daughter of a wealthy businessman, and Sydney is sent along as his bodyguard. Instructions are to infiltrate the crime ring. More than intrigue is on the table. Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood is inspired by Greek mythology. Each spring, Ithaca condemns 12 maidens to the noose to satisfy vengeful Poseidon. But when that fate comes for Leto, death is not what she thought it would be. Instead, she wakes up on a mysterious island and meets a girl with a power to command the sea. She is Melantho, who says one more death can stop 1,000. The Prince of Ithaca must die, or the tides of fate will drown them all. Next slide, please. Some of the new and upcoming releases that I'm most excited about include the titles on the slide, such as The Next New Syrian Girl by Reem Shukeri, is about an unlikely friendship between two very different Syrian girls. The pressures and expectations of being the perfect Syrian daughter. Khadija is a Syrian-American high school senior raised on boxing and football. She has a huge ego and a fierce mother to test it. Lena is a Syrian refugee doing her best to adjust to the wildly unfamiliar society of suburban Detroit high school while battling panic attacks and family pressures. Ander and Santi Were Here by Johnny Garza is a love story that could be taken from the headlines of today's news. Ander, a non-binary artist taking a year off from working at the family restaurant, meets Santiago, a new waiter at the restaurant, and they fall in love. All is well until ice comes for undocumented Santi. Chaos and Flame by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland is the first title in a new fantasy duology. Political intrigue, ancient magic, war, and the pursuit of peace join with the enemies to lovers theme in this exciting, fast-paced, epic fantasy novel with a twist at the end readers won't see coming. I thank you for your time, and I'll pass things over to Kristen now for a Sora demo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Hine. I'm an account manager here at OverDrive. So I get to work alongside our lovely digital content librarians. I work closely with the schools to help implement Sora and make sure you guys hit the ground running and everything else. So today I am just going to go ahead and show you Sora and show you all of the tools that are available once you've added this great content. So I am in my own school today. I am in my Blue Sky Academy, and I am showing you what we have available and what this can look like for your school. So very first time you ever sign into Sora, our student reading app, you will be brought to this Explore page. And I do think it's worth mentioning that Sora is available both in the browser and on devices, so you can download it as an app. And when you do that, the reading is syncs up, and it is the same format. So you can see here, it automatically remembered the last book I read. So if I need to go back into it, maybe I was reading at school and I go home, I can just click it and open my book back up. Otherwise, I am on this Explore tab where I'm able to search through different curated collections. First one, we have a featured title for the month of March, but other collections that perhaps are made for, here you have high school audiobooks. You can see these, we have lots of items with the headphones. Maybe it's going to be staff picks for spring, and maybe you have your read-alongs and your graphic novels in here alongside your ebooks and audiobooks. Maybe your Women's History Month. Maybe you also have something for your clubs. So if you're like me, I had anime club and history club that I was in charge of when I was a teacher. Or maybe you have a robotics competition coming up with your STEAM and coding titles. Or maybe you just have a World War II unit going on that you want to support your students. So curated collections is a great way to show off what's in your collection, whether it's magazines, whether it is going to be those comics or other essentials. So this allows students to quickly find something that does pop out to them. You can always keep this really fun with those read-alikes. I know Sheila mentioned Diary with the Kid, and it's one of our top ones. If your kids love that, you can always curate to pique their interest elsewhere. And it's a good tool to use for the library to show off your library collection, but as well as get students ready for research and other units. Here in our Explore, you can always narrow down by format to show exactly what you're looking for. Or you can even filter where you're able to filter by different levels, languages. So if you are building up your world languages or you're supporting your E&L staff, you are able to do that, as well as other ways to see exactly what is you're looking for. In Sora, you also have the ability to add your public library. So I've gone ahead and I've already have my public library here in Cleveland added. You would just add your library, search for it, add it with your library card. And you're able to then search both your libraries. So today I have a specific book in mind that I want to look for, and I'm going to search. When I'm searching, you're going to see that it does pull up my school right away, and it's going to pull up everything I have available to me in my school, whether it's available to borrow right away, or I have to place a hold for a short period of time till my copy is ready. It's also going to pull up in real time my public library too, and I can take out these books. So if there's a wait, I always have access to additional content. I am going to take out Pride and Prejudice. This is one of my favorites. And when we open, like I said, it remembers where you were. It also remembers where you last left off. So you can see that I've done some reading in this book. I've also taken some highlights. So to navigate through the book, if you are familiar with our sister's app, Libby, it is very, very, well, it's the same. So I shouldn't even say it's similar. It is the same. And you would just click to the side and you can move forward in the chapters. If there is something and you're looking and you come across a word that you may not know, you can hold and highlight and you get some options for that word. And I'm able to then define the word right in Sora. So I'm able to take those real-time definitions, synonyms, a little bit more information that is available, as well as popping out to Google Translate to translate this word if maybe I spoke a different language as my native language. If I'm learning, I'm doing something for class and I really want to know something, I want to compare and contrast characters. Maybe there's something about character development. Maybe I have a question for, maybe it's research or maybe setting, or maybe I just want to know nouns versus verbs as I'm going. I can also make those highlights by highlighting and dragging. When I make that highlight, I can choose my color. So again, if I'm doing all the nouns, if I'm doing just setting or character, and I can separate those out, and I can always save that for later. I can answer those questions. Maybe there's questions and I'm using these to help support my learning, or maybe I am, I'm doing a compare and contrast or something, and I leave it there and it'll be in my book. When I'm also in my book, I'm also able to customize this reading experience.
This is so helpful for a lot of our students, as not every student reads the same, not every student has the same exact reading needs. So whether reluctant readers, but also their actual needs as far as the appearance of the book itself. So we are able to change this text scale, and you can make those words bigger. So if you needed something to be larger, of accessibility sizes, so maybe you want to take out a little bit of that blue tone, you use a sepia, or dark if you're reading at night. We also support high contrast mode. We also have a number of different fonts that a user can set, including our Open Dyslexic font. Open Dyslexic, we understand it's not a one size fits all, but what this does is it does weight those letters and create some extra spacing so that it is a little bit easier to differentiate those letters in those words. So this could be used for a lot of different students. And what's great about this is once you have the student set that once, it will remain in their Sora. They just had to set it once, and it's considered sticky, and it'll continue to be in all of their books. Let's say that I'm done with my book for today. I can close back on my Explorer, but I want to go to my home. The first thing that I see here is going to be assignments. So we actually have a marketplace where you would purchase your titles, but you also can assign your title. So if you have a specific student who has an accommodation, maybe they need an audiobook while the rest of the class is reading a print book, you can assign that directly to them. National Poetry Month is coming up next month. Maybe you have a teacher who wants to have, hearing some poetry out loud, and you assign it to them. Or maybe you have a whole entire class that is reading one novel at the same time, and they want to be doing that digitally. You can assign titles directly to those students in Sora. As we continue down the page, you'll also see what I've been reading. So my Pride and Prejudice that I just opened up, my audiobook from before, and my favorite read along, Rappy the Raptor. He does rap at you, and it's really fun and interactive. But more importantly, I did want to show these notes and highlights. You can see that I took that one today, but as you look, I just showed you the books I have. I no longer have these titles. There's another one from October for Pride and Prejudice. These are going to live in my account. And what's great is I'm actually able to export these out to my teacher or librarian. So if I'm answering questions and I'm pulling quotes to support my answers, or I'm using definitions, or I'm writing a reflection, I can export that out and use this in any of these formats and use this with my teacher and in my class. Our recently defined words, let's say I want to go back to vexed. I don't remember what it meant. I have it here. So if you're building a vocabulary list or a vocabulary wall, you have all of these available right here in your account too. These do remain. You can take notes and highlights in your books, in your public library books. They'll all live on your Sora, and they remain even after you return the book. I'm just going to go right over to our Me tab as well. I love this tab because I get the question a lot of, how do I know my kids are reading, or how do I get some insight into what's going on in Sora? And on the Me tab is a great way where not only your students can customize their name, but also their avatar. You can also see some of their reading statistics. So I have mine set to today. I opened 3 books. I spent 1 minute per book. If my teacher was looking, this is probably not some good usage. Maybe I need to get more on task. Maybe I picked the wrong book. Maybe this is a book that does not meet my reading level, and my teacher and my librarian can help guide me in the right direction. You can also open this up to all time. So a little bit better. I'm still not doing so good with my average time, but maybe if I've spent, an hour on a book and I'm still not comprehending, there's also some other interactions I can have with my educators to help me get back on track. And lastly, we also have, first time you get into Sora, you do get your blast off badge. So Sora is gamified to make it fun for our students, not only to learn how to use Sora, but also to challenge them to read more and to try something that they don't necessarily read. And I will be honest, I'm not a big science reader, so this would be out of my comfort zone to get me to read something new. It really does challenge them that way. So that's just a quick overview of Sora and some of those tools that are available for your readers. And I'm going to hand it back to Heather for some Q&A.
Thank you so much. I want to thank Megan, Sheila, Jody, and Kristen for this wonderful presentation. Before we get into questions, so many great titles, so many great things to look for. I was taking some notes too, and I'm so excited about a lot of those books, especially the audios. I've been listening to a lot of the audios that you mentioned lately. We do have some questions from the audience. The first one is about Sora. Can you talk a little bit about how someone might sign up for Sora, if there's a cost involved, the nuts and bolts end of Sora?
Well, I said I'll jump in there at once. I didn't know if Kristen wanted to take this or not. Again, the question was, is there a cost for Sora? Sora is a free reading app that you can download to your phone or any device that you have. And Kristen, did you want to take it from there?
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah, so Sora, there is no cost to sign up for Sora and get your district started. So I know I saw Emily had a link in there, and I do believe it's also to learn more on our last slide, but it is no cost to get up and started with Sora and get your students in there and getting reading. The only cost would be to add some of these specific titles.
Thank you. So a follow-up question to that, how do students access Sora after the school opts in? Do they need library cards? If you're a public library and a school library, how might you work together to get kids onto the app?
Yeah, I can take that one too. So we connect to your district's authentication or school's authentication, whether that's Google or ClassLink or some sort of Active Directory, and they'll sign into Sora that way. In order to add that public library, they need their library card. But to get Sora through your district, we'll just use what you're already using. And we've seen some great integrations with some of those.
Thank you. So this is something that I know that a lot of people are working with right now, as more kids and more readers in general are moving into online platforms. How do librarians continue to provide that excellent readers advisory service or guiding kids toward the next great book in this digital platform? Do you have suggestions on how they can still have that soft touch, that personal connection to the kids as they're looking for books in an online format?
I think the biggest thing that I hear with the schools is that, you know, Sora is your digital library. You still have a print library. So having some of those face-to-face interactions, you know, a student asks for a book, you can get it in Sora within a couple hours and saying, you know, hey, it's not on our shelf, but here it's also available in Sora, and making sure that students are aware of it. I think the curation, like I mentioned on the Explore tab with all those collections, is a great way to guide student discovery of what's available, read-alikes, those reluctant readers. Maybe they love graphic novels and putting those front and center in front of them. A lot of people also use Sora with their classroom reads, and as students are in there reading, maybe Pride and Prejudice, I know that's the one I keep going to, but it is a favorite, I didn't lie. But maybe they're reading that for class, and, you know, as they're in Sora, they're being exposed to more books that are available. And, you know, it's also can expand to some of those tough topics that the students are looking for too, making sure that you have what the students want, and, you know, through different conversations in different ways, you know, as a librarian or educator, you would have a pulse on that too.
So speaking of Pride and Prejudice and some of those books that have language that might be a little bit more difficult for some people to decode, is that ability to highlight and define words, is that across all titles in Sora, or is that something that's just in some? How would you find out if the book has that capability?
Anything that's a regular chapter book will have that capability. The only time you may run into an issue is if it's a fixed layout, which would be more like a picture book, where you have the graphics as well. But anything, you know, like again, like a regular chapter book with all those words that look just like Pride and Prejudice, you will have all those tools. However, things like the font sizes and being able to do the playback speeds and things like that with read-alongs and audiobooks, you can customize that. You can zoom in and things like that. You can customize any of our titles.
And then a question about Libby. So obviously Libby is another OverDrive product. If a student is already using Libby, can they access Sora through the Libby app? how do you recommend navigating between the two products?
So no, they can't access Sora through Libby. However, we do recommend Sora as your student reading app because Sora does have a lot of student tools available, but also we have something that we call content access levels, where you make sure that your student is seeing things that are age appropriate as deemed by you. At the public library, they kind of have the run of the mill, anything that's in that public library. So Sora does provide that safe space for reading, and you can really tailor what's available for your students.
Thank you. So that I think really clears that up. Trying to think if there are any other questions we have here. I wondered if there were any other things from the other panelists that you'd like to pop in and talk about as you think about that. We have another one has come through. If Sora is a free resource for schools, how many titles are available within this version? You did mention that a cost is incurred if titles are added. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between Sora as a venue for accessing titles and the titles themselves?
So Sora, when you start with Sora, there are some no-cost Sora starter titles to get you started. And anybody on the team, if I'm incorrect, I believe the number is around 400 titles to get you up and running. And from there, it is a title by title basis, and that is going to be set by the publisher. But we do have a lot of flexible lending models and ways that we can maximize your budget and things like that. And that's where I come in. So you will, if you sign up, you will get a one of me, and we'll be able to walk you through all of that and all of those options.
So as a school app, Sora would be the option over Libby, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that something that would just be used, that you see it mainly being used or only being used in public schools? Do you see it in other settings as well?
Oh, we work with a lot of private schools, charter schools, international schools. Sheila and I are actually on a team together, and we've gotten to work with some really neat schools in Brazil and as well, through those charter schools and private schools. So it is not just districts, it's anybody.
That's fantastic. It sounds like it's just like really useful, just generally across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Another question about digital books. So we talked a little bit about recommending books in a digital way and how you keep that connection. Do you have any strategies or suggestions for using digital along with print books, or how you connect the physical items in your collection to the digital items? Do you see them ever working together? Do they tend to be distinct and separate?
Personally, I like them working side by side. Like I said, you have a physical library and you have a digital library. I read both, so I don't think it's a this or that. I think the convenience of digital, being able to have that on the students' devices, being able to have that integrated with something like ClassLink or with their Google Classrooms, really makes that easy to use. I'm going to steal a Sheila line that digital doesn't collect dust. You can have as many books as you want. You don't run out of space with digital. So if there's something that you want to try, something that you're not sure how it's going to circulate, you can get that in, as well as you can get those digital books really quickly. Within only a couple hours, they will appear in your Sora account. So having that, it's funny, we have a whole blog series, and I did actually write a blog recently about that too, about using it side by side, where, if you have a lunch and learn and you're in your library and you want to listen to an audiobook out loud, you're taking the best of both, the students in person, but also using that audiobook or that read along, or, the read along up on the Promethean or whatever it may be. You also have those accommodations that we mentioned as well, where you can use if students are reading, maybe your students are reading a certain title. In accommodation, you have a graphic novel. Someone needs a different format or an audiobook, or maybe they need the title in Spanish, and you can use that digital side by side with print. Maybe you have, I don't know, gone are the days of hybrid. I know around here I haven't heard a lot of those, but you can have some of those students who aren't in school to pick up their book, or maybe that side by side as well. So programs as well as classrooms as well as accommodations.
Can you, so a quick question, is Sora, do you see it only in schools, or are there any public libraries that are using it on the children's side?
Sora is only for schools. Libby is for the public libraries.
Okay, thank you for
Mhm.
that distinction. So another question about Sora, just all these questions for Kristen.
Yeah.
Can you talk about curation of the Sora page? So we saw how you had it laid out for your school. What are the customizable areas and options for a school that selects Sora? What can they change to make it look the way they want it to for their particular students? Like, are there different categories that you can choose from? Can you create your own categories, your own lists, things like that?
I'm going to see if one of the digital content librarians wants to jump in. This is their area of expertise, and they do a lot with that.
I can jump in. Sora is totally customizable to reflect your students and your school community. We often emphasize to change things up, to make sure that things are inviting and interesting and welcoming to your students. You can put lists in any order. You can make room for curricular titles and lists. You can make room for popular reading, seasonal reading, summer readings coming up. We're doing a lot for that. And so for the people that asked about, what is provided with Sora, we also provide a free summer reading program as well. So now is the best time to get involved with Sora. So you have all these reading resources for your students before they leave for the year. But yes, you can curate for anything. Sometimes around fall, we'll have a fall into a good book, teen screams for your teen readers. So you could be as an imaginative or as curricular as you need to be with your Sora collections. Again, you can mix and mash them up. It's always fun and a creative part of working with Sora. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it does. I am going to give it just one more second here to see any more questions coming in. I don't think I do. Well, in light of that, I think oh wait, we do have one. Sorry, I thought we were all done. We do have one more. What would you say? So here's one that is near and dear to my heart. What would you say to somebody who might not consider audiobooks or graphic novels real reading? As the audiobook editor at Booklist, I have strong feelings about that one, but I'm sure some of you do as well.
Yeah, Heather, I'm in your club. I agree. Audiobooks is reading, and we try to emphasize a lot of that going through our webinar here today. It helps everyone. It's sustainable to your collection. With Sora, you can adjust the speeds, so the playback is so that the student can comprehend at their current level. You get a lot of fluency, pronunciations. Until I heard Harry Potter on audiobook, Hermione was a stretch for me. I am admitting that. So there's a lot of uses for that. I'm also a graphic novel promoter as well. I like graphic novels because it teaches students literary devices that maybe sometimes they can't get from the text alone. So it shows mood, it shows tone, it shows emotion. So students that struggle finding those literary devices can visually see that in a panel by panel layout. So yeah, I'm in Heather's club with audiobooks and anybody else's club that promotes graphic novels as a way to read, promote reading, promote literacy with all readers. So whether they're proficient readers, emergent readers, English as a second language reader, if they're not on reading level, we have graphic novels now, and they're making more and more like this, that we can get classic titles in graphic novels. So that helps with some of that language interpretation too, from what we would consider now a more historical
novel like Romeo and Juliet or something, to where that might be a struggle for some folks to understand the language that Shakespeare wrote in. And now you, in a graphic novel format, you can visually see and see that interpretation of that language. Okay, I'm done now.
No,
I
I'm
could
up
add
there
just
on
one
that
thing to
soapbox too.
that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jody.
With audiobooks, I like to think about what is it that you're trying to get the student to get out of reading. For the most part, it's often content or character development, rising and falling actions, setting, any of that you get with audiobooks. The thing that you're missing with audiobooks is the decoding. And the decoding itself, the being able to sound out the words, is often the barrier to reading. So by removing that barrier, the students can start to enjoy reading, and it actually does build their reading ability because they're adding vocabulary. They're also kind of more relaxed and getting into it. If they like the reading, they will make extra attempts at it. And again, it's going to expand, like Sheila said, the vocabulary, the fluency, the cadence.
Yeah, I agree. And how wonderful for a student to be able to have a conversation about the book that they're reading, even if they have struggles with the decoding. And I think those conversations are going to lead um, to a deeper understanding of the titles as well. Well, with that, I think we are going to say goodbye for today. Thank you again to all of our presenters. Such great content, so many great titles, and I really appreciate that plug for graphic novels and audio at the end, which are just such wonderful formats. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, a certificate of completion, and a video recording of this webinar. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those that you see here. Also, have you heard our new book browsing guide offering reading recommendations to patrons of all ages is now available in print? I'm so excited about Booklist Reader. Go to the bit.ly.booklist reader in print to find out how you can order print copies for distribution at your library. Booklist subscribers can share issues digitally as part of their subscription. And you can visit our website for more details and to see examples of how libraries are sharing Booklist Reader with their patrons. If you are heading to TLA, then stop by booth 2434 for free magazines, buttons, and to learn about our new magazine, the Booklist Reader. Plus, we'll be sharing our booth with our friends at Library Reads. Swing by to learn how you can participate in their staff picks program and pick up some free swag. See you there. And thank you all for joining us for today's program. One more huge thank you to our presenters and to our sponsor, OverDrive. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.